So I'll just be recording this. Concerning recording, don't worry, we're going to be recording this session and we're going to be sending you the recorded recording at the end of the call. So do not worry about recordings and all of that. It's going to be sent to you. All right. So let's just get into it very quickly. So a bit of introduction. My name is Akondade Dalola, and I have been a mobile developer for about 2 years, although my journey really began extensively last year. That's when I really began to take it quite seriously. And it has been a great journey. I'm just going to be sharing a bit about my journey and some of the things I've learned before we go into the meat of why we are here, which is to build an application in 30 minutes without using code, right? And so I got into no code, like I said, 2020, and the whole motivation for me, to get started in no code was the fact that I wanted to build applications. I came from a marketing background, right? A digital marketing background, and I always, had ideas. I always had, things I wanted to build, right? But the option I had was either to have a co-founder who had development skills, or, in another instance, I would have to maybe raise money to hire a developer and things like that. So I always had ideas, and I didn't want to be limited to developers in order to build those ideas. So, one day I was on the email and I discovered the opportunity of no code, and I was like, wow, so it's actually possible to build applications without actually learning how to code. I was like, wow, that's really incredible. So I okay, sorry, you can't hear me. Okay, so I will do my best to speak a bit louder. I guess some people can hear me, some people can. Maybe you can increase your laptop to the highest degree, but I will try and raise my voice a bit louder so that you can hear me much more clearly, right? So, I began that whole journey, right? And took a bit of courses, but there was not one composite course that really covered everything, right? There was not one major course that covered all the things that I wanted to learn. I took a lot of short courses here and there online, going to this particular site, going to that particular site, and things like that. And then all of a sudden, I discovered this tool, Code Map, right? Where is it? So I discovered this particular tool. I'm going to be, and during the course of our relationship and interactions, I'll be sharing a lot of tools and things like that. So I discovered this tool, and I realized that, wow, that this was a tool that was specific for no code development and for mobile development. So I realized that a lot of jobs that were being placed on these adverts were just about no code. So I decided to specialize on bubble.io, right? Which is like, when it comes to no code development, is like the major tool, right? So that's how basically my journey began. And if you would see here, it just started with me sending proposals to different clients. I sent over 286 proposals, and that was like my daily work. Just get on here and send proposals. And I always told clients, because then I didn't really have experience. I'm like, see, for me, I'm going to definitely, deliver on the job. Even things that I didn't know, I was going to figure it out, eventually. And so that was how my journey began. And I started sending proposals, and then I was getting interviews and things like that. And, you can see so far I've won about 6 jobs just from this platform alone. And there are so many other platforms I rely on. I'm sure you're familiar with Upwork and other things like that. So this was my first job. It was a booking application, that I started with. And then I got this, this was a major client. So the thing about these jobs is that even though you get started here, these jobs can go on for 3 to 6 months. because when it comes to app development, there's always this bug testing. There's the phase beyond deployment, where you are consistently helping the client to manage their application over a period of time, right? So there was always this consistent need, from the clients that, okay, I know this is phase 1, I'm still going to phase 5. I need to develop this, I need to develop that. So there was also the need for me to up my game, to improve over time. And like I said, I was learning so much on the job, right? So I'm going to show an example of some of the scope of work, but let me just jump into some of the projects, right? So that you can see an idea of how these applications look like. So this is a t-shirt ordering application built with Bubble. There is no code involved. So the basic idea is that you just put in the amount of t-shirts you want to order, and then you ask for a quote. And in that instance, so this is working with APIs. Don't be, if you're hearing API for the first time, don't worry, that's just basically it's a way for systems to communicate with each other. Do not worry about that, right? We're not going to cover that in this training, but it's a bit advanced, but it's it's very, very straightforward once you understand it. Once you understand it. So basically, what is happening is it's getting information from different t-shirt warehouses in real time. So let's say a t-shirt warehouse in Orlando, a t-shirt warehouse in Japan. It's getting all the information. So right now, these are the 2 shirts that are available for this size. If I click on another kind of t-shirt, this is the only t-shirt that is available for this size. So the APIs is working, and it shows you all the colors that are available. Then once you select a color, you see the kind of color you've selected, and then you select the sizes that you want, and then you select the positions and things like that you want to select, and then you select the number of colors and things like that, and then it gives you a unit price, and then from there you can go on to place your order and things like that. So this is a use case for like an e-commerce solution, right? And this was the client here. It's this screen printing t-shirt. The project went on for about 3 months, and it went beyond. I mean, the client ended up paying, I believe, about $3,000 at the end of the day, right? And here is another application. So this is a project management application, right? And this is more or less, ability to manage projects for teams and individuals. So the idea was that this one, the client wanted this to be a replica of BuildCamp, which is basically an application that you use to manage tasks and things like that. So it has opportunity to add documents. You can, add PDFs, Google Sheet documents and things like that. You could upload documents from your Google Drive. You can start a new meeting. For example, I say, today's training. And I talk about, okay, we are here to learn no code, right? And I published this, right? And so that in and of itself was a new document, right? And then team members could chat with themselves. You can add either a whole team, like a marketing team, or you could add individuals. So it had a lot of features, and all these features were built with no code, right? And funny enough, this client was so impressed with the work that I did. Let me just try and Google their name. Just Google them. So this was like the recommendation that the client made to one of their very close friends, right? And they recommended me to this this new friend. So that's another thing with this, that as you begin to get clients, those clients begin to refer you to new clients, which produces a new opportunity for you. So it's not just that, oh, you're just on one platform. No, if you do a good job and you execute well, you're going to be referred to so many, and you grow your network, and you would have greater opportunities than you have today. So those are some of like the amazing opportunities that we're talking about, right? So this client is basically a client that has an agency that they're running in Canada, and they basically referred us to them, and that communication led to this project, which is more or less like the current project which I'm on. This project has spanned for about 4 months, but I'm in the 4th phase, right? And it's been an amazing journey, right? So let me just give you an overview. It's a scorecard application, right? And with this application, you can basically, you can take a scorecard. You can take a scorecard quiz, and it's going to give you like a result at the end of the day. So let's say, for example, I go, so all of this was built within the application. A client comes, takes quizzes, right? Let's just take one very quickly. It takes a quiz, puts in multiple choices, and so at the end of the day, once you take an entire quiz, you are given a result. So for example, let me see the results. So this is like the result page. So you see your quiz, you see your score, and sometimes you have different categories and things like that. And then you can go on to give summaries and reports. And so all of this, so this is a bit complex, right? This is quite a complex application because there's a lot of technicalities in terms of database that was involved. But even something as complex as this was built with no code, without me coding, without me, I don't know anything about CSS or programming or anything like that. I built all of this with no code. And if I can learn this in under a year without any mentor or anything, just from learning on the job. Like I said, I was learning on the job and I was hungry to learn and to prove myself to this client. Definitely, I believe that you too today, you can have this opportunity and you can actually take great advantage of it. So that is my journey. I just wanted to share a bit about that. I know we are here for we are here to build, right? And we are here to really maximize. So maybe one thing else I'll show you is that, okay, this is like my Stripe dashboard. I just got this I got this in February, right? And the idea behind this was that because obviously these jobs were coming from abroad, they're not coming from locally here in Nigeria. So I needed to have a Stripe account and get my own US account and things like that. So those are some of the learning journeys I had to take, right? And you can just, so this is my company Tauden, and basically you can see that this is just the recent client I'm working with and all of that. So, but before now, I had to be relying on like families who were living abroad, and I was using their accounts, and they were getting the payments were being sent to them, and then they would send me the Naira equivalent. So that was how I was getting paid. So these are some of like the screenshots of those payments. So you can see that, oh, this is not like, oh, this person is just, boboing us or anything like that. No, this is something that I did, and I was paid, very well for my execution and for my job, right? So, and it just came from these steps, this system of sending proposals, building a relationship with the clients, and from there, executing on the job, doing a fantastic job. And then sometimes asking for referrals. Okay, if you like what I did, tell your friends about it and things like that. And that was how the relationship grew from there. So that's a little bit. And there are other platforms. Like I said, this is We Love No Code. It's another platform where you can be on and you can get jobs with clients. I'm also part of a very unique French group. It's a French group for productions of mobile developers, right? So to be a member of this, you actually have to be extremely good. You will take a test, and things like that. So these are some of the learning journeys, but this also gives you opportunity to get jobs from French-speaking countries like France, Portugal, and other places like that. So I'm also a maker under Allegra Group. And I'm part of that Discord group, as you can see. So that's just a bit about myself. So there's a lot I can share about the opportunities with no code and things like that. But another thing I want to talk about is scoping a project, because what happens when you get a client, the client is interested, they've seen your proposal, you've had the interview. What's the next phase? Next phase is to send them like a proposal. So I just want to share a little bit about my scope. So this is like a sample scope, basically. So you can see that I just have the objective and I have the functionalities on the left. And then I have, please everyone, kindly mute. I have the functionalities on the left, and then I have the hours scope on the right. And as you can see, when I was starting, I was charging $25 per hour. No, I first started with 20, I increased it to 25. Now I'm just beginning to charge 40, 50, right? So if you take a calculator and you say most jobs would rank between 80 to 120 hours, most of the jobs that you're going to do rank between 80 to 120 hours. So you can scope your work and say, okay, if I'm even starting with $20 per hour and I'm able to get some projects within what's it called, within that range, right? That's 1,006. And you're able to get 3 jobs in a month. You're on these platforms, you're marketing yourself, and you're on all the places. That's about 4,008. So it's all about the work that just needs to be done and the work that needs to be put in place in order for you to be able to maximize that opportunity. And it's still a very new industry. And I'm not even talking about the opportunities of you building your own business. That is you basically creating like an app business that is sold, that you're getting customers, you're getting clients, instead of you going to hire a developer to pay them 1 million, 2 million, 3 million in India. You now have the skills to build your own ideas, to build your own applications yourself. So it's really a priceless skill for me, right? So that's just a bit about scoping a project. So sorry, I just wanted to run through that. And with that all being said, I now want to go into the crux of today. So what I really want to talk about is how we are going to build a task management app. And that's what we're going to be doing today. We're going to be building a task management web application. And we're going to do it in 30 minutes. And I hope we can do it in 30 minutes. If I don't do it in 30 minutes, forgive me. I'm going to try as possible to do it in 30 minutes. If I'm going too fast, you can also let me know so I can slow down. I'm a bit of a fast talker, right? So I would try and slow down on this part. So basically, let's just cover some basic things. First of all, we're going to be building on bubble.io, right? And that's the tool we're going to be using today. And the basic functionalities that we want to cover, the crude functionalities is that for the task management app, it's going to be a personal task management web application. So what that means is that think of like maybe you want to do anything, any project, a personal project that you have. So you want to be able to record the task and the date those projects would be, will be due and your progress on that project. So it's just a personal task management application for yourself, right? So it's not going to be for companies, it's not going to be for organizations, it's going to be for you. And so there are 4 basic things I'm going to ensure that we're going to be able to do today. First of all, we're going to create an application where any user will be able to create a task. They'll be able to read a task. Okay, they'll be able to read a task. They'll be able to update and edit a task. And then lastly, they'll be able to delete a task. So those 4 functionalities. And most of the project applications you're going to be working on would cover, they'll cover this, right? They will cover the ability to create a record, read a record. The user will be able to read a record. There will be a display option. They'll be able to update or edit that record, and then they'll be able to delete a record. So now this is it, because you might think that, okay, the most important thing is to go in and start developing and start building your applications, but it really begins with having a proper database. In fact, your database is the foundation of your development process, because if you don't get the database right, like if the app is destroyed at the end of the day, right? So you have to get the database correct, right? And so for this task management app, it's just 2 major points of data that we'll be using. Number 1 is the user data. That is the user, the person that is creating our account. And number 2 is the task data. So under user data, I don't know if you can see this, maybe I should just raise it up a little bit. Under user data, you have the name and the email and maybe the password. That's all. That is all for the user. But for the task, you have, a task will have a title, so it will have a name, right? That's the title. A task will have a due date, right? That means that there must be a date that task is due. And a task will have a status. Is it in progress? Is it in progress? Is it completed? Or is it just starting? So that's the status. And then the task will also have a user. And this user is related to the task. So this user database here, data point here is related to this task. So you are able to see that relationship there. Okay. No. Okay, then Another thing we're going to be talking about too is option sets. Don't worry about this. When we get into the bubble right now, the bubble app, which I'm hoping we can get into by 6:25. Just do everything I can to go very quickly. Once we get into the bubble app, we'll be able to explain all of this much more clearly. So for option sets, right, what you have here is simply a set of predefined options. So just think of like when you are in the university, right? When you were in the university and somebody told you that, and you were taking your exam, your university exam, and they said that the only options was A, B, C, D, and E. So your examiner did not want you to come and say you chose G, you chose F, you chose something else. No, the only 5 options are A, B, C, D, and E. So it's up to you to choose an option between A to E. G is not an option. So the same way, think of it that your user, sometimes you want your users of your application to select some predefined data. You don't want them to select something outside of that. So for something like title, they can write the name of the title that they want, right? They can write the name of the title that they want. But for things like status, you want to define it that, okay, the status will be start, in progress, and completed. So they will be the ones to select the option, right? So it's not that they can select another option outside of this option set. So that's where you use option set. So when we go into the application, you will get this much more clearly. All right, so that's just a brief, overview, blah, 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 about, that's just the theory part. So we're done with theory. So let's now go into the practical, which we're all here for, right? So everyone, let's go into bubble.io. So I'm just going to go here and, so I already have an account created. You might need to create your own account in your spare time. Hopefully, once you have this thing, you can watch it over and over again. So you might have clarity and things like that. But if I'm going too fast, don't worry. This is going to be recorded. Like I said in the beginning, it's going to be recorded and it's going to be sent to you, right? So you have options to go through it. So I'm just going to, like I said, I'm going to create a very simple task management app. That's what I'm going to do. So I'm just going to start here and create an app. And I don't know, what should I call this app? Let's just call it the task power. Let's just call it something like that. I think task power is okay. So that's the first step. You name your app. And most of the time, if somebody already has that name, you would have to rename it to something else. So the name has to be kind of unique, right, to this thing. Okay, so we're loading our application right now. So because on this call, I might not be able to cover everything about Bubble because it is quite extensive, right? So normally on a normal day, I will go through what all of this, UI components mean, right? So, but for me to do that on this call, it would mean that we'll be here for the next 3 hours. So what I will just do is just run through some basic things. So for here, you have your, the pages. The pages. So when you're developing, you develop on different pages, right? And for here, you have your elements. So the text is an element, a button is an element, an icon, images, groups, all of these are all elements. And right here, you have, like your tabs for certain functionality. So you have tabs for workflows, you have tabs for data, you have tabs for styles, which is just think of styles like CSS. You have tabs for plugins, and then you have your settings tab where you talk about the settings of your application. And then you have your log tab where you're able to see like your analytics of your application and things like that. So we're just going to be focusing on the design and workflow and data tab for now. And then we will do a bit about plugins, but not everything, just this one. All right, so I would, so this is the page. You can go ahead to rename your page. So I can just call this task app. And what I'm going to do is just work on the layout. I'm going to change this layout to a, let me just make it a column for now. I might come and change that later. I'm going to give this a 1 to 80 pixels. I'm going to make this 900. And the reason why I'm doing 1 to 80 pixels is that the smallest iPhone is 320 pixels. Smallest iPhone is 320 pixels, and that's like the smallest phone. So if I take 320 and multiply it by 4, that gives me 1280. So that just means that my app is kind of responsive for all devices, right? So that's just like a design trick I gave you right now, right? So I use 1280 pixels, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a group, and I'm going to take that group and paste it here. And I'm going to call this group my group. Just call this group my group menu. So I'll call this group my group menu, and I am going to make this group I'm going to make this group a row. Now I'm going to make this, let me just make this group a row, and let me just call this my overview. Just call this my overview, and I'm going to remove the fixed width. I'm going to remove the fixed width here, and I'm going to make this, just make this 600 pixels, right? And I'm going to give this some padding, 20 pixels, 20, 20, and 20, right? So basically, so you think of groups like a house. A group houses, a lot of other things. So in my house, in a house you have different rooms, and in that room you have furniture, you have your kitchen, you have different things like that. So in this group now, I'm going to put some other things inside this group. So this group is like the main container that is housing everything. I hope that makes sense, right? So, so I'm going to take another group, right? And I'm just going to paste that group here. I'm going to call this group my left menu. So this left menu will act like a dashboard, right? I'm going to make this a column, this thing. I would remove this fixed width. I'm going to remove that fixed width, and I am going to make this 320 to the left. So what is a row and what is a column? You might be looking at this layout and you're saying row, column, and what does that really mean? So row is, is horizontal. So if I copy and paste this now, you see this group came here to this other side. So that's just row. But if I make this if I made this parent group a column, it will come underneath it. So it just means like they align the flow of the page. Is the page going to be column? So if it's a column page, items are going to stack on top of each other. If it's a row page, items are going to flow from left to right. Right. So that's just an example. So I am going to make this. I'm going to remove the max width here. So I want this to extend all the way down, and I want this to stay here. So this is going to be my left menu, and this is going to be my let's just say the tasker. Let's just say this is the group tasker. Okay. Now, so I have this two here and I have this here, right? So I'm just going to pause here on the design, and I'm going to go straight into the data, right? So on the data elements, like I said, when I was looking at the slides, I told you that we have email, and then we have name, and I told you that password is already generated automatically. So you won't see password ever inside the database, but it is there, but it's hidden for the sake of the user. So it's not something that you see in your backend, right? And then I'm going to create another data type, and I'm going to call this data type a task, right? And we said that a task has a title, right? So it has we're going to paste that data type. Like we said that a task has, what else does it have? It has a due date. And what type of data is a due date? It's a data type. It's a date type, right? And then a task also has an option set. So remember when I was speaking about option sets, that you want to predefine the options that a user is able to use. So I'm going to create a new option set, and I'm going to call this status. And then for status, there are 3 statuses, right? There are 3 statuses, and the first status is start, and the second status is in progress, right? And the third status is completed. right? So now another thing about option set is that you can now create an attribute. An attribute just means that this option set has different sides. It has different elements to it. So I'm going to call this one progress, and it's going to be number. So I'm going to modify this attribute that when it's on start, the progress will be 25. So that's just like 25%. When it's on in progress, the progress will be 50. So that's 50%. And then when it's completed, it's going to be 100%. You get that? So basically, I have just defined my option set. So now I'm going to go into my data type and I'm going to create a new field. I'm going to call this field, I can also call it status. I can just call it task status. And it's the kind of field type is going to be the option set we just created, which is the status. And I'm going to create it. And then I'm going to make the default start. So what I've just done is that when a task is created, it's going to have a default of start unless it is now changed by the user, right? So these are just some basic things about Bubble's database that I just wanted to share. So now that I have defined my database, I'm going to go back into my menu, right? And I'm now going to do a bit of design. So I want this to be, I want this left menu to be black. So I'm just going to remove this here. And I'm going to make this a flat color. And I'm going to make this, let's make it all threes. So all threes is black, but it's not so black. It has like a grayish element to it. So it always has this nice feel, right? And then I'm just going to give it padding. I'm just going to give it padding. So padding just gives you like, that space, by the edges. So I'm just going to give it some padding of 20 pixels all around, right? So you have 20 pixels here, 20 pixels there, right? And now I am going to go and grab a text element and I'm going to place this text element inside here. And I'm going to remove the style. I'm going to make it white. So white is FFFF. And I just want to use Sora. I like the text element Sora. I'm just going to make this, just make it 18 pixels. I'm going to call this element, I'm going to call it my tasks. Right? So I'm going to call this my task. So what do I want? What do I want here? I want to have like a dashboard here of all my tasks. So when I click on it, I cannot edit it here. So this will be like where the editing will happen, this place. But this is where like the dashboard, the selection will happen. So are you getting the flow? Don't worry, as we go ahead, you get it more clearly. Okay, so another thing I'm going to do, I'm just going to remove this fixed width element, and I'm going to remove this height element. Don't worry, we're going to give some room for questions hopefully for the end of the session. So just keep the questions for now. And then this element, I want it to be a column. That's okay. So I'm just going to copy and paste this here. And okay, you know what? I'm just going to delete that. I'm going to grab a button. Let's use a button element. I'm going to paste that button element here. I'm going to say new task, right? And so I think let's make, what color should we use? Let's use this color as our brand color, this yellow color. I think I like this yellow. I like yellow with black. I think it goes fine. So I'm going to just group these elements together and I will convert them into a row container, right? And I'm just going to bring this down. So there we have it. So we have like the header here, the task, and then we have this button to create a new element. I think I'm just going to make this roundness 10. I like designing things. So yeah, so it just looks a bit nicer. All right, so basically we have this element and we have this. So once we want to create a new task, we click on this and it would create a new task. So we're going to configure all of that on the workflow. We're going to see how we're going to do that. Next thing is I'm going to grab another element, and this element is for input. So for somebody to be able to create an input, right? And I'm going to style this input very quickly. So it's just going to remove none. I'm going to make the background flat color, and I'm going to make it EB. And then I'm going to make the color black. And let's give this a roundness of 10. This fixed element, move it from here, and make this fixed height here. Then you can see that the spacing is too close to each other. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to apply some gap spacing of 20 pixels so that it just flows underneath each other like that. And another thing you can do is you can name your elements. So I'm just going to name this input name. Like I said, don't worry, when you're going through this video, some of these things become clearer. That's why we're going to give it the record. So just try and follow along as we're going, but don't be upset if you maybe you missed out on this or that. Just don't worry, you get the recording. So, and then I'm going to change this to Sora, just so that it's it flows well. And then I think I like 16 pixels here. Okay, so that's our input element. So this is where they will put the name of the task. I'm going to grab this button, copy. I'm just going to paste it here. And I'm going to call this create task. Okay. I'm going to remove this fixed element so that it extends from top to bottom, from left to right. Remove the minimum width, make the height 50 pixels. All right. So that is our create button. So I don't like the fact that we have this yellow and this yellow. So I'll make this an outline button. So I would just click on this. And, I would make it an outline. No, that did not work for me. So it's okay. Let's just leave it like this for time's sake. So what I will do is I'll now group these two elements together. So to group an element, you just click on one, you hold down your shift button, together, you right click and just click on group elements. So you can group them as a row or group them as a column, right? So I'm just going to group these two as a column. And I'm going to, I'll apply a gap spacing of 10 this time so that there's a bit of space. And then I'm going to call this group create task. Right. So this is just like a simple thing that I want to do here, that when this button is, so this will not appear when somebody loads this page, this group will not appear, but when this button is clicked, this will now appear. So let's just quickly do that now. So I am going to remove this. There's going to be that option here on the layouts that says this element is visible on page load. I would remove the element, right? But another thing is that even though I remove the elements, there's going to be this space in the development in this group. So I'm not going to say collapse when hidden, right? So you are going to see that this element will now be hidden, but at the same time it will collapse when hidden. Then another thing is that I will then now create a workflow that says that when I click on this button, show this group, and when I click on this button, remove this group. So I'm going to add a workflow. So the things about workflow with Bubble is that I think workflows work as a simple functionality, which means it's just basically if this, then that. So if this button is clicked, then what will happen? That's just it. If this button is clicked, what will happen? So if I click this button, right, I want to toggle an element. And the element I want to toggle is group create task. That's it. So when this button is clicked, toggle this element. So let's try and preview this and let's see how it looks out there. Right. So this is my element. You can see it right here. If I click on this, it toggles this. If I click on it, it removes it. If I click on it, it toggles. So that's just a simple workflow functionality that we're just doing right now that you can actually replicate on your applications. Okay, so once that is done, next thing I want to do is I want to create like a view for me so that I can see all of my tasks once they are created. So when I create a task here, I want to see it here. So for that, I would use a repeating group. And you use a repeating group when you want to see a list of data. You want to see them flowing. You want to see that list of data flowing from, sorted out in any way that it's sorted out. And once you want to see that, you use a repeating group. So for example, in your Gmail, this is like a repeating group. You're seeing a repeating group of emails all flowing all the way down. So that's like a repeating group. So now I want to see a repeating group of all of my tasks, right? I want to see it here. So what I'm going to do is I am going to just start it very quickly. I'm just going to quickly start it. So I'm going to call this repeating group task. And the type of content, what kind of content is it? Is a task type of content. And then the data source is, I'm going to do a search for all of the tasks that are in, all of the tasks that are in my database. But then I'm going to add a constraint because I don't want to see all the tasks. I want to see only the tasks that I created. So the task that was created by the current user, as the task that was created by the user that logged in. So those are the only tasks that I want to see, right? So, and then I'm going to remove the fixed width elements, and I'm just going to remove I can make this 100 pixels for now, right? And then I'm going to make this a column. Okay, so another thing I'm going to do is that I'm going to set this column, because I only want it to have one column here. I don't want it to have multiple columns. If I make it 2 columns, 3 columns, you see it will be stacked 3 times. So I just want to have just one stack horizontally, right? So that's why I'm using that there. So I'm now going to take this text elements. I'll just copy it, and I'm going to paste it inside here. And I would style it very, very, very quickly. Just very, very quickly. And I'm going to give this text element a background color. I'm going to make the background color gray. Yeah, that's okay. And I would center the text vertically. And then I would also give it a padding of 5 pixels on top, 5 pixels on the bottom, 20 to the left, and 20 to the right. Right. So it's just styled. Okay, let's make it 10. Okay. Right. And then lastly, I'll just put a bit of margin. And then you don't need to really focus so much on the design elements right now. I just, that's like a preference for me. I like my apps, even when I'm, kind of teaching, I like my apps to be designed well. So I just give this a roundness of 5 pixels all around, and things like that. So what do I want, in here? This group already has a data source, and the data source is all the tasks. That's what I want to show here. So now this particular text element is going to be the current sales task. That's the task that is, assigned to this particular cell. So I want the title, the name to appear there. So now let's test this out. Let's go to our front end. Right? Let's go to our front end. And you can see that I am not coding. I'm just basically like designing. That's what I'm doing. Right? So I click on this and I create a new task. And let's call this task zerocode training. And let's create a task. So you see that we have not, configured this button. So nothing is happening because we have not configured the button. So let's go ahead to configure that button. So what do we want to do when this button is clicked? We want to create a task, right? That's what we want to do. So I'm going to add a workflow that when this create task is clicked, I want to create a new thing. And that new thing I want to create is a task. Then I want to set another field. So I'm going to set that this title field is going to be the input names its value. So that is this input. So whatever the person types in here, that is what I want the title to be, right? And then I'm also going to do another thing. I'm going to reset relevant inputs. So that will clear anything that somebody writes here. And then there's one more thing I'm going to do. I'm going to toggle the element. And what element? I'm going to toggle this group create task so that it goes off. So this group goes off, once I've created a task. So let's refresh our page. And I'm going to click new task, and then I'm just going to create a task very quickly. I'm going to call this task zerocode training. I'm going to click create a task. So you can see that's our task. Let's create another task. Let's call this marketing. So it appears underneath it. Let's create another task. Let's call this jello. Yeah. So you are seeing that our task is being created, but it's giving us this spacing, which I do not like. So let's look at it. So why do we have this spacing here? Because we have this minimum height rule. So I'm just going to reduce this to 50 pixels. And I'm going to also reduce this to 50 pixels. Okay, so now let's refresh and let's see. So there you have it. So that's like your dashboard field. So I can create another task and call this goal setting, create task. So we've created a record, and we can read that record. We can see what we created. So those are two things about code that we've done now. We've created a task, and we can see the task we've created. So now what I want to do is that I want to be able to edit this task here. I want to be able to edit this task element here. So how are we going to do that? So let's just do that very quickly. And once we are done with that, that would be the end of the session, right? So let's just quickly go through that very, very quickly. Okay. So this is good. Let's just call this group edit task. I think that will make it clearer. So this is our menu, and this is where we edit task. I'm just going to give this a padding of 20 pixels all around. Right? And what I'm going to do it here, I'm just going to carry this and I'm going to paste it here. And I'm going to make it black. Let's just make it blue for now. Let's make it blue. And so what this would be the task name, right? So another thing I want to do very quickly is that once you click on any of this, I want it to reflect that task in this group. So I want this group to become whatever task is here. So how do we do that? Well, very simple. I am going to just click on this element, and then I'm going to add a workflow. And I'm going to say that I want you to go to the page. I want you to go to this index page. That's the page that we're on. We're on the index page here. But then I don't want you to go alone, but I want you to, I'm going to add a parameter. And that parameter will be whatever the current sales task unique ID is. So basically, what we are doing is that the unique ID of this task, that's this task, the unique ID, just think of the unique ID as like the name of the task, like the unique name, like the exact name of that task that Bubble recognizes. And it's like the DNA, exactly, it's like the DNA of that task. So that DNA of that task, that unique ID, you're going to carry it to the, you're going to carry that unique ID to the page. So then what I'm now going to do here is now say that I want you to look at that page, go to the page, check for the parameter V, and I want you to check for any task that is there. And I want you to display the title here. So just a very simple flow, right? So if I refresh this page, and I click here, I'm going to see that this reflects zerocode training. If I click here, it reflects marketing. If I click here, it reflects Jello. If I click here, it reflects goal setting. If I click here, so basically I have tied this data to this particular group. So now I can go ahead to edit this group, because anytime I click here, it's this task is what is going to be represented here, right? So let's just quickly go ahead and do that. So I'm going to do the same thing for this group element. I'm just going to copy this expression. I'm going to say that this type of content is a task. That's the data type. I'm going to paste the data source as get v from page URL, and when v is task. Okay, so now I'm going to grab a group element, and I'm just going to paste it here. In fact, no, let's not use a group element. Let's use this particular element again. Let me give this a cap spacing of 60 elements. So I'm just going to call this, I'm going to remove this. I'm going to call this title. So this will be the title. Then I'm going to take this element, just copy and paste it here. I'm doing that for time. So I'm just going to call this edit name. And it's important you name your elements well, because in the backend is the name that is tied to it that would reflect, when you are working. So I'm just going to group these elements together in a row column so that they are stacked by size. So we have title and you have name there. I'm just going to copy and paste this, and this will be my due date. Right, this will be my due date. And I would look for another element called date time picker. So this is for selecting dates. I'm just going to draw it here. I will delete this one. Just delete this one. And I will style this, remove the elements, fixed width, and make this 50 pixels. Okay. Then lastly, I'm going to copy and paste. And this will be my status. And I'm going to get a drop down. So I'll look for a drop down element. Right. And just remove the fixed element. And then I'll make this 50 pixels.
Damola, sorry to cut you. Please, can you stop dropping your email in the chat area for your own good and for your own protection? For everyone that attended the call, you get an email from us, but it's also very, very important that you participate in this particular session. But just a quick one, how many of us are gaining a lot from this session? Can I see some yes in the comments area? So my name is Toby Ashende. I'm working with Damola on this, right? And yeah, awesome. Okay, good. So, if this is something that, the interesting part about this, and one of the reasons why Damola and I are collaborating on this is because, this is a game changer, right? A game changer. Damola is already a multimillionaire in doing it, right? And I was like, he needs to come and, we need to come together and show more people how to do this, and for them to also be able to, drive, what do you call it, amazing traction and amazing results. So I hope you are learning a lot from this. And there is a lot more, and we'll be sharing with you how you can also work with us. If you want to learn this, we're looking to build 100 people before the end of this year, right? We're looking at getting about at least 100 people before the end of this year, to be able to start making at least $5,000, up to $5,000, right? Between $1,000 to $5,000, working from home, and and also doing this for international business and clients, right? So if you're excited about that, if you want to be part of the 100, just type 100 in the chat area, and then I'm going to add it over back again to Damola to continue his class.
Okay, thank you so much, Toby. Really, really awesome. So yeah, we're practically, getting to the end of the session, to be honest. So yeah, so that's just to add like your status. We're going to use a drop-down element for that. And then, so there's one more thing I want to add, which is like a progress bar. So I'm just going to put progress. And for this, I'm going to be using a plugin And I'm just going to be showing you how easy it is to add a plugin. So sometimes you might need a functionality and you don't have that functionality available within Bubble. You can use some of Bubble's plugins as I'm just added a plugin to your app. So I've just added that application there, and I'm going to go ahead to post that plugin here, that element here. I'm just going to delete this and yeah, just remove this here and make this 50 pixels. Okay, so there we have it. So this is basically a way for us to be able to edit our task, right? So I'm just going to marry the data of these elements to the task from the group, right? So this is already the task and the parent group task. So I'm just going to say that the initial content here, which is the content that is going to be on this element when the page is loaded, is going to be the task's titles. I'm going to marry it to the task title so for here, I'm sure you already guessed it, it's going to be the task's due date, right? And then for here, it's going to be, we're going to use dynamic choices, and the kind of choices we're going to have is going to be a status, it's going to be option sets, and the option set is status, and it's going to be all status. And what we're going to have it is the display. But then for the default value, it's going to be the parent group's task status, right? And then lastly, for the percentage, it's going to be the parent group's task status progress. That's the number aspect of it, right? So just a bit of marrying data there, and just to ensure that it's a bit clear. Then lastly, I'm just going to paste a button here. I'm going to reduce the width because it's a bit too long. I'm going to make it 320 pixels, and I'm going to center it. And so this is not going to be create task, but this is going to be what? It's going to be edit task. So, like I said, Bubble flows with if this then that. So what do I want to do here? I want that when any input is changed here and this button is clicked, I want you to change the task details to any of the elements details that are here. So I'm just going to add that workflow now very, very quickly. So I'm going to say, I'm going to make changes. So this time I'm not creating a new thing, but I'm making changes to a thing. And the thing I'm changing is the parent group's task. And I'm just going to add all the fields. So I'm changing the title to the input edit names value. Very simple. I'm changing the task status to the drop down is value. And then I'm changing the due date to the date time pickers is value. So ideally, I would have named these elements, but because of time, I can't do that very quickly. So I just want to kind of rush through so that we can get to the end of the session, right? And then I am going to just add an alert so that we just know that we've done something, when the user makes that change. I'm just going to add an alert. I'm just going to say great job, right? So where is my alert? Center. I'm just going to take it down so it shows last. So I'm going to go back to the workflow again. And I'm just going to say that when this is all done, I want you to reset all the relevant elements. No, don't reset, sorry. Then show the alert, show message in an alert box. And the message I want you to show is the alert great job. Okay, so let's quickly test this out. Let's see how it looks. So I'm just going to quickly refresh this. And what I'm going to see is, I'm just going to see like all my elements here. So I can change the due date to 17. I can change the status to in progress. And once I click edit task, you can see that the progress bar has gone to 50%, right? And it has edited that task. So I can go here and change the task to the due date to 31st. I can change this to completed, and I edit the task. So And so what happens is that when I go back into those elements, I can see the changes that I've made. So what have we done now? We have created a task, we have edited a task, we have created a task, we have shown how to read the task, and we have shown how to edit the task. So the last thing, which is the simplest thing to do, I'm just going to show how to delete a task. So we cover the 4 functionalities, right? So what am I going to do to do that? I'm just going to copy and paste this button. I'll shift this down. I'm just going to shift this down, and I will change this to delete task. And I'll just change the color to something red. Maybe not too bright. And I'm just going to create a workflow that says when this button is clicked. So if this button is clicked, what will happen? So I'm just going to search for delete a thing, and the thing I'm deleting is what? The parent group's task. That task. So that's all. So that's it's the simplest workflow to do. You know? So ideally, on a normal day, but because of time, you can't do it. On a normal day, when this is clicked, you're supposed to have a pop-up that says, "Are you sure you want to delete this task?" And then you click yes. So but because of time, we can't really go into all of that functionality, right? But that's just like a basic workflow. So I'm just going to do a very quick tidy up. I'm going to group all of these elements because it's looking too far apart. I'll group all these elements. I'll group them in a column container. And I'm just going to select first parent. And then I would add a spacing of 10 pixels. And I will also group these two together. Sorry, and the design person. I'm just going to make this 10 pixels as well. Right. So once we refresh this, it's going to look a bit nicer. Not as nice as I want it to look, but it's looking great. So let's create a new task, and let's call this task for deleting. Right. And if I create that task and I go here and I delete the task, that task is gone. So those are the 4 functionalities that we've covered. So I would say that we're able to create a task. So today you learned how to create a task, you learned how to create an application that able to create a record. We're able to show you how to update that record. We're able to show you how to update that record, show it in a display format, and then we're also able to show you how to delete that record, right? So I hope throughout this training you're able to gain some value, right? And as you can, I would just like to ask that, did I use any form of programming? Did I use any form of code? Did you see me go and type any CSS or anything like that? I just want to ask that, So was that, yeah.
Awesome, Damola.
Thank you so much.
Wow, such an amazing one. I can't believe you just did this without even writing a line of code.
Yeah.
And there's more, like I said earlier on, this is just a snippet. One of the things that myself and Damola has done. So some of you might know me. My name is Toby Ashende, the founder of Digital Marketing Skill Institute. And Damola and both of us, myself and Damola, are setting up, we have the Zerocode Institute, right, where we want to help people to become software developers. This is what software developers do. This is how they make money. Damola, can you show one of the ones you've completed, one of the softwares you've done, one of the softwares you've developed? Can you show us a workaround of it, right? So, this was built basically without writing a line of code, right? This portal was built without writing one single line of code, right? And this is one of the things that, we want to train you guys on. We want to do this. We want to help you guys be able to do this. And most importantly, I'm just going to talk real quick about, how we plan to do this for you guys, what me and Damola have thought about and said, okay, you know what? This is the best way to help you guys to be able to learn this and to be able to implement this and to be able to get good results from it. right? And so we've put together a training that will show you how to develop, applications such as the ones that Mola is showing you, right? How to develop applications, like the one that Mola is showing you, and not just how to develop it alone, but how to actually get customers from it, right? So how to develop it, how to get customers from it. So how many of us are excited about that? How many of us want to learn how to build, different codes without writing a line of code, right? If you are excited, if you want to do it, let me just say yes. Let me say excited. Let me see some form of expression, right, towards it, because this was basically done without writing one line of code. Damola built this, and you too can do this. You can also start to become a software developer. And we know one of the advantages of becoming a software developer, and not as a software developer, that designs products, that develop products such as this, is that, there's even a relocation route, UK, you don't have to go and pay 15,000 to go for school, right? You can basically, with the skill, there's the global talent route, who is looking for, the UK is looking for people that have this type of skill to move to the UK, So in essence, what am I talking about? Right, is that there is a lot that you can do by having this skill. And what me and Damola has done is that we want to show you how to do this, right? How to develop such platforms, and most importantly, how to get paid doing it, right? I'm sure Damola has showed you some of his dashboard, the amount of clients he's been able to close and things like that, right? Some of these clients, they pay you, one client can pay you as high as $3,000, $4,000, even $5,000, right? And they would, an average project will last for about 3 months, right? Or 6 months. So that's more consistent money, right? And we'll definitely give certificate of completion. Someone is asking, will you give certificate? Yeah, we'll give certificate of completion. So what we want to do is we want to train you, want to support you. So the training is going to be a 6 weeks training, right? During that training, we're also going to have support sessions. And then after the training, you're going to have after training support also through a community that you're going to be part of. So in that community, you can ask questions. I'll be happy to support you. And then once in a while, we can also jump on a call as well. Someone said we must not move to the UK. We can do it here. Exactly. One of the things I tell people is that this is the smartest way, because you are earning $3,000 a year, you are earning $5,000 a year on a monthly basis. Man, oh man, you're gonna be living like a king. If you earn that same amount in the UK or in the US, you're probably paying a rent of about $1,200, paying another council tax, paying this and this and this, So the smartest thing is if you can sit in Nigeria and make money like the way Damola is doing. Funny enough, I've told Damola, let's come and relocate to the UK. Damola says no, that he's enjoying Nigeria, right? So the whole idea is that we've put together a very, very resourceful training, right? We're going to be training and we're going to be supporting you. And most importantly, we're going to be supporting you on how you can get customers, how you can get clients. So we're going to be walking you through step by step, how you can get clients, what you should tell the client, the kind of your proposal, how to put together your proposal. We're going to be giving you pricing templates, how you should price, right? How you should price, and and all, and we're going to be giving you all these, so we're going to be running a promo. We're going to be giving you a 50% discount, right? But that 50% discount is going to end. That 50% discount is going to end on Friday, right? That 50% discount is going to end on Friday. So the training is actually 150,000 naira. But if you join between now and Thursday, right? If you join between now and Thursday, then we are going to what they call it. You're going to be taking 50% off. So instead of you paying 150,000 naira, you're going to be paying 75,000 naira, and you'll be getting an email tomorrow morning, right, with that discount, right? So it's between now and the 2nd of June, right, for you to be able to sign up if you're really excited about this, right? If you're really excited, can I see some excitement in the chat area? If you're going to join, if you plan to join, I want to see some excitement in the comment area, right? If you're going to join this, me and Damola, we've pledged that we want to help 100 people this year, right, to be able to achieve this. And we are really going to be focused on that, right? So if you're, and for some of you that might know Digital Marketing Skill Institute, you know what we do, you know the kind of traction that we do. Now, someone is asking, can you learn this in 6 weeks? Yes, you can learn it in 6 weeks. Most importantly is the continuous support, right? It's getting your hands dirty. You're going to have access to the videos also, so you can watch it over and over again. There's going to be a portal, right? And in that portal, we will also update the portal, with more content and going forward. So someone is saying from Kenya, yes, you'll be able to join in Kenya. So we're going to be sharing a payment link as well that you can pay in dollars. So for those that are outside the country and within the, and in Nigeria as well, you're going to be able to pay for it as well, right? So this is real value, and we really want to help a lot of people. Damola has taken his time graciously to make sure that you all get value, you get a snippet of what you're going to get, what you can do, right? And this is really exciting. You're not going to write a line of code, but you're going to become a software engineer, right? You're going to become a software engineer without writing a line of code, right? That's an amazing stuff. And that's what we want to get you to. And that's what we want you to achieve. And you know what software engineers earn? They earn real, real good. I have a friend of mine that makes about $140,000, right? And he's a no-code, is a no-code person. So he develops software without writing a line of code, right? So yeah, so we're gonna share the information, right? First thing tomorrow morning, you're gonna get an email, with how to, what they call it, how to make payment. So please do check your email, check your spam folder to ensure that you don't miss that email, because it's going to be an amazing turnout. It's going to be an amazing focus for us to come together and learn this skill effectively, right? So instead of you paying 150,000, we're slashing it to 75,000 naira. That's 50% off. 50% off, right? So that's 50% off, of the training. Okay. All right, guys. Thank you very much. I'm really excited. So we're going to be sending you the email tomorrow. So someone is asking, can one from there build an app? Oh yeah, you can build an app. Damola just showed you a web app, but you can also use it to build a mobile app as well. You're going to learn that as part of the training. Damola, do you want to shed some light on that?
Definitely. So you can, build mobile applications, and you can also, but with Bubble, you can actually wrap those applications. So there's a process for doing that, right? And there are actually a lot of businesses that have been built with Bubble as well. Both, launched on the App Store or built, through direct links, on web applications. So that's also another alternative that people have been exploring. People have been raising funds, people have been raising, they've been integrating with investors, and things like that. And so it's a tool that is really exciting, and encourage everyone to really take that time to really, go through it and understand, the opportunities that are there, right? So, thank you.
Awesome. So we have some people representing from Kenya, all the way from Kenya. Thank you very much. Someone is asking, is Bubble free, right? So, Damola, you want to answer that?
Yeah, so for Bubble, right, it's free to learn. Like, the account that I use right now, I just created it, and so it's free to learn. And but in order for you to publish your application, for it to go live, right, you will need to be on a plan, right? So the earliest plan, the first plan starts from $32 per month, right? But then you can go as high as, depending on your tiers and the amount of workflows that you're actually integrating into your application. But what I would say is this, that it comes with a version test mode, which means you can send that version test to a lot of your users to test your application, and you can do that on the free plan. But then when you are ready to launch and you're ready to now have active users, right, you can now pay for the startup plan, and then from there upgrade as you are, uploading user. So what I would just add in terms of what I've seen from my own analysis is that for the plans themselves, per 100 users, it's going to be costing you about $0.91, right? So if you're pricing your app at $10 per month, for example, so you have a profit of about 9 point something dollars to work with. That's even at the lowest $10. And there are some apps that go as high as 20, 30, $40. So that's another alternative and discussion we can have, if we're talking about building a business through that. So, but yeah.
All right. Awesome. So we're going to be sending an email, a detailed email tomorrow, talking about all the steps, what you need to do, how you need to sign up. Some people are asking about instrumental payment, because we're already giving a discount. We're not sure that we're going to be giving instrumental payments, but, we're going to get back to you tomorrow also in the email. If there's going to be instrumental payment, we're going to reflect it in the email. But because of the discount, I cannot guarantee that there are going to be instrumental payments. Okay, right. So this is exciting. If there is no other question, then I would, we would be ending the call. We'll be ending the call. So I'm just going to unmute 2 people to ask the questions. And then, so Dami, I'm going to unmute you to ask your question. Dami Dara, I'm going to unmute you to ask your question. I'm going to also unmute Randell, to ask the question, okay? So please go ahead and ask your question if you have, what they call it, if you have a question you want to ask. Okay, go ahead, Dami.
Hi, everyone.
Yeah,
thank you for this. So my question is, what if Bubble packs up? What's going to happen? Are we going to be forced to go and learn how to code eventually after building so many apps? And when you mean app, is this app or websites?
So no, these are apps. They are web apps. So you have, you have web app and you have mobile apps. Web apps are portals. Portals are not things you can do with WordPress and the likes of them. Do you understand what I'm saying? The software developers that build portal. When you log into your banking app, for example, with Bubble, you can build a banking app. You can integrate to Flutterwave. Most of these guys that have, in fact, you can even use this to build a startup that can raise money. That's even true, right? Most of these guys that do, banking services, and some of them are built over on the infrastructure of Bubble. Or so there are other apps also that are similar to Bubble, right? That are like Webflow and the likes of it, right? They're also similar to Bubble as well. So if Bubble packs up, there are other ones that you can use, but Bubble is not going to pack up because they're pretty much a profitable business based on their model.
Yeah, just to add to that, so Bubble, I mean, if you really do your study on them, like they've raised significant funding, right? And they have a very secure platform and they're integrated with AWS. And one of the things that you would realize with them is that there are a lot of companies, multi-million-dollar companies that have been built on the infrastructure of Bubble. So it's trusted by world-class investors. It's trusted by people that have invested with Y Combinator and things like that. So it's an application and infrastructure has been tested for over a very long period of time, right? So with any business, right, that is growing in, because of course, as a consultant, you're working with clients, some of those questions might come up, right? Some clients might, it's not that they know about Bubble, it might be you that might be showing them Bubble as an option. So in that instance, right, it's all about, understanding that the infrastructure of Bubble has been tested over a long period of time. And there are a lot of companies that are similar to what they've done. They've built their infrastructure with Bubble and it's been tested, right? So yeah, over to you, Toby.
All right. Awesome. So Randell, you were muted. You can go ahead, please. I hope I pronounced your name very well.
Yes, that's just fine. I hope all of you can hear me. Thank you for the opportunity. My question is, once you're done with an application, developing with this platform, how does one go about deploying the app, and what options are available? Then in the case of developing mobile applications, will the final result be applicable to like an Android environment versus an iOS environment and stuff like that. So maybe a guide on that, on those two issues.
So thank you for that question. So deploying on Bubble is actually very straightforward. It's a two-step process, right? Once your app is built, it's simply like a click on the button. Once you are ready, you just click the deploy button and your app is live, right? So there are instances where you can deploy your app on a custom domain, which is what practically everybody will want to do. So it just integrates the DNS records of your application with what you have on Bubble. And once that is done, it's just to deploy live. In terms of things like SSS records, the SSL records and things like that, Bubble takes care of all of those things because practically your app is hosted on Bubble, right? That's basically like what you're paying for, So it's that is it. So in terms of deployment, it's not like you have the whole, the way you have to think about it when it comes to custom development. It's practically a straightforward process. And
yeah, so many of us are asking questions that, these complaints are built using Bubble. Lyft is an Uber company in the US, right? These are HubSpot. I know most of us know HubSpot, right? These are companies that are using Bubble, right? And a lot of companies, I just don't want to mention startups in Nigeria that I know of, right, that are built using Bubble, right? And some of them have gone ahead to even raise money. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? So Bubble is very, very reliable. It's like platforms where you buy your, I won't say, I don't want to sound, but yeah, the whole idea is that it's very, very reliable, right? It's a platform that most people use right now. And that's why you think anybody will want to pay you $5,000 for a platform that will crash? $5,000 per month, in 3 months, that's $15,000. Nobody will want to pay you that for a platform that will crash, right? Do you understand? There's nobody that's going to pay you for a platform that is going to crash. So Bubble is a tested platform. It's one that is reliable and is one that you can use to build any kind of software. You have the likes of Paystack, Flutter Wave, and all of them. They all have their integration already with Bubble, right? So in the essence that if you want to take payment with those platforms, you just need to do drag and drop, and you'll be able to get that done. All right. So, guys, thank you very much. We were planning to use 1 hour, but you guys were so amazing, that you kept us for almost an hour and a half, right? So if you're really excited and you can't wait for our email tomorrow morning, please, I want to see some yes in the chat area. And then I want to thank you all for being part of it, right? So if you can't wait for our email tomorrow morning, if you're excited, you really want to get our email tomorrow morning, you want to get the offer that we're giving to you, I want to see some yes in the chat area. Thank you guys. Thank you very much. And so, so we look forward to sharing more information with you guys and for you guys to be part of this, right? Myself and Damola, we are committed to this, and we're going to ensure that, as many of us here, can eat out of, you can pluck the fruits that Damola is plucking, right? Do you understand what I'm trying to say? In using no code, right? So it's a game changer, and I'm really, really excited for us to be doing this. Guys, thank you very much. We're going to call this to an end right now. I don't know if Damola wants to say any other thing, and then we'll take it up. Someone is saying he raised his hand. Okay, so Range, let's hear what you have to say. Let's hear your question, Range.
Oh, good evening.
Yeah, how you doing?
Okay, fine. We come from different geographical background.
Okay.
I come from Kenya. Now I don't know what is the time for the classes, because you come from Nigeria, I come from Kenya, with different time zones.
Yeah. So we're gonna put all those in. We're gonna put all those things in the email, right? How it's gonna be structured. the timing and all, so most of the timing will be more for question and answer sessions, right? Where you come online, we'll do the practical together and everything like that. And then we're going to consider, Kenya time zone. I mean, Kenya time zone is not so bad from Nigerian time zone, so it shouldn't be a problem.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, everyone. This is exciting, and we look forward to you guys joining and also, training you on how to achieve this. All right, guys. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Wait, I even forgot. Please appreciate Damola. Damola took an hour showing you guys. Please kindly appreciate him. Say thank you, Damola. Appreciate him, please.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
him.
Really, I'm grateful to share.
All right. Thank you very much. All right. Thank you.